Thank you, Dave. I I guess I should begin by saying I don't have a conflict. I will be rooting for the team in blue, not the one in burnt orange. But um, in January of '89, Ronald Reagan gave his final speech as President of the United States. He, the speech was called a Shining City on a Hill. And he talked about America's role as a beacon and a light unto the world. And I want to, he talked about hope and optimism, and he set forth a vision that we could continue to be that as long as we believed in that, worked together on it, and used the gifts that we've been given. I want to talk to you today about a small corner of America, Pueblo, Utah. Provo is a place with a wonderful group of kind, hardworking people who value family and community. I um, I love living in Provo. I love the many things we're doing right here. I'm also concerned that Provo is facing some challenges now. We're facing pressures to grow too fast in ways that would weaken our community. We're, price, we're facing challenges and pressures to spend too much or to incur debt that is excessive. And we also have the risk of losing our focus on our core responsibilities and wandering off to do things that are not they're not the core job of a city and that cause contention and negativity. I want to talk a little bit about just one of those first, which is the pressure to grow, because it's probably one of the most prominent things everybody's aware of. Everywhere you look, you see things being developed, and some of them being developed well, and others not being developed in a way that makes sense. Um, when Provo was put together, they put together, a plan. Just like most cities, you have zoning, you have important areas allocated for different growth and different development, and they also put together a process for how that would change. And the key part of that process was involving neighborhoods and communities and individuals in that change, so that they would both know about what was being proposed and have a real voice in those decisions. Recently, that voice has been minimized some. We do not get the same kind of notice or participation in some of those important roles. And in fact, even the neighborhood chairs and other folks that are asked to represent us are no longer elected, but are rather appointed and serve at the will of the city, subject to replacement with or without cause. I think that's the wrong direction. I think that a government's designed to serve the people and find out what their values and priorities are and implement those, not dictate or tell them what they should be. Another area, I went door to door and I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of people, and I asked most all of them the same question. I asked, what do they like about Provo and what are their concerns? And one theme that comes up a lot is the spending and tax situation. And so I looked through the budgets and whatnot, and it's true. Our budgets are growing faster than inflation. We're spending an increasing amount. Um, but why does that really matter, or should that concern us? Let me share one experience I had that brought this home to me. I was actually earlier this week. I was down in Edgemont, and I was just going door to door talking to people, and I approached a lady. She was in her 70s, sitting on the porch. She looked happy, comfortable. She had a dog, puppy, playing energetically near her. I walked up. I said, "Hello, my name's Stan." She said, "Stop. I know who you are, and I'm going to vote for you." This is great. That doesn't happen very often. We get a lot of responses when we're campaigning, and that's not the most common. So I went with it. I said, "Well, thank you. I appreciate your support. What are your issues? What motivates and concerns you?" And she shared that basically her story. She's lived in Provo most of her life. She's worked for decades for the Provo public school system. She enjoyed that work, loved it. In due course, she retired, and now she is on a fixed income in a modest house. And she talked about ways she's economizing, ways she's waters her lawn every 6 days and moves things around, by hand, and watches the electricity and all these things. But in spite of that, she is taxes and the utilities that she's paying is making it look like she has to move. Oh, We need to do better. Um, but I don't want to put an overly negative picture. Provo is doing a lot of things right. The government and the people are building for the future. They are working together in ways that do strengthen us. And there are a few areas we need to have a bit of focus. Um, when I think of a city, I think of a city as having four core jobs. Public safety first, which is just your police, your fire, your emergency responders. It's your neighborhoods, preserving and protecting those. It's the parks, trails, open spaces, and then it's your streets, roads, and infrastructure. Provo is doing pretty well on all of those things, but occasionally the focus wanders and they wander off and do things that don't represent the values of Provo, and they do things which cause contention and conflict. And I think that's a mistake. In general, I'm very optimistic on Provo. I'm optimistic because I think as long as we keep our focus on these core things, as long as we um, manage our budget and resources appropriately, and as long as we remember that government is there to serve, to listen first and understand, and then implement the will of the people, not to dictate, I think we're going to do very well. And finally, I'm optimistic because of you, the people in this room. You people are involved, you're paying attention, you're participating in this 200 plus year old experiment in self government. And I appreciate that. I appreciate what you're doing for Provo, for America, and for this community. Thank you.